afterwards, so stick around. Hello, space fans, and welcome to another edition of Space Fan News Weekly Space Roundup, where we will visit some of the more interesting space stories that came out this week and then discuss them live afterwards, so stick around. Now, this first story won't be much news to all of us amateur astronomers out there who spend a lot of time looking at the sun through our solar telescopes. But you may have noticed that there isn't much to look at on the sun these days. This week, spaceweather.com is reporting that we have surpassed 100 days in 2020 where our sun has had 0 sunspots. Nothing. Nada. Blank. Boring. So this makes 2020 the second consecutive year the sun has had record-setting low numbers of sunspots. Now, most of us know that the sun follows a roughly 11-year activity cycle on average. Now, some cycles can last only 9 years and some can go as high as 14 years, but 11 years is the average. Humans have been counting sunspots every single day since 1838, so we have a pretty good handle on the activity cycle. Solar max is when we have a lot of sunspots in solar activity, and solar minimum is when we have very little or none. Now, we should probably be a little bit careful here in our terminology. By solar activity, we are talking about the existence of sunspots and their associated active regions. It comes with lots of prominences and filaments, and the eruptions of these active regions are happening multiple times a day, some of them producing energetic events called coronal mass ejections. But the sun is always shining, and that's a form of activity too, so let's not forget that. It's a vital activity to be sure, but overall it's pretty boring. One of those things you kind of take for granted. Now, the sun doesn't cool down nor heat up as the solar cycle changes, at least not to any level that affects Earth. What's different is the level of eruptive activity, some of which can affect Earth quite a bit. So last year, the sun was blank. That means no sunspots for 77% of the time. And so far this year, that number is 76%. These record-setting lows are setting the stage for a very deep solar minimum, one that's been going on for a little bit longer than expected. So we are in one of the deepest solar minima that we've seen in a while. Spaceweather.com is saying that this current record-breaking minimum is part of a larger pattern in which it is believed by some astronomers that the sun may have been in a magnetic low point for the last 9,000 years. I did not know that. So how does this affect us? Well, not very much, really. There is some evidence that the solar cycle affects our weather and our climate, but it's not a pronounced effect. Instead, the most noticeable thing is stuff like the aurora or the northern lights. Those are those beautiful bands of light that come from charged particles interacting with the Earth's atmosphere. These go down during the minimum and are very pronounced during max. So overall, this isn't a thing to worry much about, unless, of course, you're a solar observer like me who wants to see more than just a boring red disk in our H-alpha telescopes. Come on, man, let's bring on solar max. Okay, next, here is some JWST news. Yesterday, NASA announced that the James Webb Space Telescope, you remember, it's all folded up and stowed into its launch configuration. NASA is going to cram this huge telescope into an Ariane 5 rocket soon, so they can launch it into space, finally. Now, this is the first time that the entire thing has been folded into its launch position, according to Bill Oakes, who's Goddard's Webb project manager. The mission is in one of its final phases, the testing phase, where they have to work out everything to make sure it's going to do what it needs to do at launch time in a little under a year. And now that they know they can fold this thing up without damaging it, the project will move to the next phase of final environment testing. While it's all folded up like this, NASA is going to shake it and blast it with sound vibrations to mimic a launch to see if it all holds together. Then they will unfold it again, check it out one more time, and then do a final fold up and ship it out to French Guiana, where it will be launched, so far, hopefully, in March 2021. Now, the guys at NASA told me that this is the do or die time for the mission. This testing that's going on now is a vital part that, if passed, means that the mission is still a go for launch. If stuff breaks or falls off or otherwise gets damaged, then we're probably looking at more massive delays and cost overruns. That's assuming, of course, that they keep the project alive. They could just kill it altogether. So please, here's hoping. Godspeed, JWST. Go, JWST. Okay, next, remember a year or so ago, we got bombarded with stories about Planet 9? Remember that? Astronomers Mike Brown and Konstantin Batygin did some observations and modeling of the Kuiper Belt objects that they saw and found that some of their motions didn't make any sense unless there was a planet roughly 10 times the mass of the Earth out there. Now, when they put that hypothetical planet out there, then the orbits made sense. And since then, astronomers have been making a mad dash to find this planet, which is right now called Planet 9, very unimaginatively. Well, after a few years of searching, it still hasn't been found. And since human beings have the attention spans of gnats, we do what we do best and start thinking up other things it could be. Ignoring stupid conspiracy theories, because, come on, that's what we have to do. The leading non-stupid theory is that there's a planet out there. And in order to coincide with observations, that planet needs to have a mass of about 10 times that of Earth. Now remember, we don't need to actually see something directly to know it's there. If something has a lot of gravity, then we can see the effect of that pull on things that we can see. This is how Neptune was first theorized and then later discovered. We knew it was there before we ever found it through a telescope. Same thing with dark matter. We know it's there because of the effect its gravity has on the rotation rates of the galaxies that we can see. But this unseen thing might not be a planet. It could be something else, anything else that with enough mass. It could be, well, some people are suggesting, a softball-sized black hole. Maybe. But Dr. Anne-Marie Madigan from my alma mater at CU Boulder is trying to explain all the mass that must be out there by suggesting that a vast disk of smaller bodies all stuck together by gravity could provide enough mass to explain why the Kuiper Belt objects are moving the way they do. So the problem with the planet theory is that no one is sure how such a big planet got that far out into the solar system in the first place. Based on what we know about planet formation, it's a stretch to the theories to find a huge planet that far out. A large planet that far out should have gotten snagged by a passing star. Or another idea is that it could have started out closer and meandered outward. And if that's true, then, well, what stopped it? So the existence of a large planet that far out raises more questions than it answers. So astronomers are looking at other possibilities, and Madigan can get the orbits of the KBOs that we see without a planet. She says that early in our solar system, Jupiter and Saturn should have thrown out a bunch of planetary rubble that formed into long oval orbits that collectively formed a disk beyond Pluto. Now, running her model, she discovered that at one point in the distant past, the disk could have morphed into a short-lived cone and then relaxed into a puffier disk. And when the dust settled from all that, then we can get the same aberrations that we see in the KBO orbits. She says that this model can explain everything that's been anomalous in the outer solar system. That's a pretty big statement. Now, for this to work, the disk needs to have 20 Earth masses of material, which would be the absolute maximum amount of debris that's predicted to have been left over in our early formation. So it's really on the edge of possibility here. So whether there is a planet out there, or a disk, or even a black hole, whatever it turns out to be, shows that something very strange and improbable has happened in the outer solar system, and the situation of the matter would probably be resolved in the next 5 years or so, when the Vera C. Rubin Observatory starts taking observations later this year. So let's look for that. Finally, you guys have got to check out this video. This is the Japanese Hayabusa2 spacecraft approaching and then bouncing off the Ryugu asteroid, a near-Earth object, in February of last year. As it approached, it fired a small projectile into it and caught some of the debris in a sampling horn just before it bounced off and went back into orbit around the asteroid. The mission will return these samples to Earth later this year. Ryugu is about 1 kilometer across, and its equator bulges out in a ridge that makes it look kind of like a top. Its surface is a mix of dark material that is slightly red and blue. The blue stuff is mostly near the poles and the equator, while the red is in the mid-latitude regions. Up close, though, both can be seen, and the team is hopeful that they captured a little bit of both in the sample grab, and they can get it, and that will allow them to get a good idea about the story this asteroid has to tell. Not to be outdone, as I've told you before, NASA has the OSIRIS-REx mission ready to do something very similar around Bennu. It will do a touch and go to get a sample from Bennu, and that is currently set for August of this year. Well, that is it for this episode, space fans. Stick around for some Q&A, and until next time, keep looking up. All right. Hello. Testing. I think I've got video and audio. Well, what'd you think of that? Okay, so a little bit different this week. Had something prepared. Decided since I had all these buttons to push, I couldn't do it all live. So I recorded that part and then pushed all the buttons as it was going. And now that it's over, I can be me and we can be together and talk about what we just experienced together. So a couple things. Let me know what you think of this format and if it's better than last week. You saw right away I screwed up though, because I had that particular video muted. I was trying to figure out the best way to sign out and get back from recorded mode to live mode, and so I forgot to turn the video back on, so I had that little hiccup there. But anyway, I am streaming live on my YouTube channel on Deep Astronomy. I am also streaming live on Gibson Picks twitch.tv platform, at least for now. As long as Twitch will let me do both, I will do it. That's right, Simon Farmer. I be pushing those buttons. No, it didn't just end. What do you mean it ended? What happened? No, it's still there. I'm still here, AE MIDI. I'm still here. Okay, so anyway. Oh, I think he got confused because my thing ended. So anyway, here we are Q&Aing. Never mind. So like I said, I am streaming live on those two channels. I'll continue to do it for a while, but I'll do it in favor of Twitch because this is my Friday evening Space News Roundup stream that I do on the Clear Skies Network on twitch.tv, which is right now Gibson Picks, and that's a long story. Okay, so anyway, let's see here. So I did not I was so busy doing things that I didn't really get a chance to look at the chat. So I'm looking at both chats. Arcatufus is here, Better and Better is here, AE MIDI, it's good to see you. Ed Davies, Simon Farmer, all you guys, Andy Cowley, all of you guys. Gregorius is here, and that's good too. So Haskin Dustin is on Twitch, and all you guys. So we could talk about anything you want, but hopefully about these stories, because that's what I'm prepared to talk about. Gabar wants to know if I can upload a full astronomy course. You mean like right now? No, but I could. But you know what? The thing about that is, and that's a good point. There are a lot of cool astronomy courses already out there. I think Phil Plait did one, right? He has a crash course thing going where he does all that stuff. Neil deGrasse Tyson does it. There is the Great Courses streams. All of that costs money, and I get that. But there's lots of stuff out there. So I don't know. I feel like maybe I shouldn't be doing that because other people are doing it better than me. But yeah, this part was scripted, and then I recorded all that and then pushed all the buttons while I was playing it. So it worked a lot better for me personally. Hopefully, it worked for you. The thing is, I can't concentrate on too many things at once, so it had to be done that way. So let's see. Are you taking Frozen Yak wants to know if I'm taking bets on the launch date. Yeah, JWST? No, man, it ain't going up in March 2021. There's no way. It was already iffy before the pandemic hit, and of course, Northrop Grumman et al. Is got this. They've got issues with safe workspaces and all of that, which is understandable. But you just know that's going to push the launch date back. Some are saying as far back as July. If I had a way of setting up a betting pool, in England and UK, they bet on everything, right? They have this store that they have this chain of things called Ladbrokes, and they're everywhere, right? You can just walk in and bet on anything. If I were in the UK, I would start a bet on the launch date of the James Webb Space Telescope and see how much money. I don't know how to set odds or any of that stuff. But my bet, if I were going to set up one of those office pool kind of things, my bet is March 2022. I think it's going to be delayed a year. As you saw in this story yesterday, NASA announced they squished it all up. They crammed it all up into its launch configuration, which is nothing short of astonishingly great news. So that's good news that they can get it to do that. But now what they're going to do next, like I said, is they're going to expand it out again, see if anything fell out or broke, and then check it all out. After they vibrate it and simulate a launch environment on that thing. And then they're going to pull it out and look and see if anything fell off. And then if nothing fell out, they're going to squish it all back up one final time for the launch. It'll get put on a barge and sent out to French Guiana, where it will be launched, hopefully, whenever it launches. So I would like to take bet. If I was in the UK, I'd go to Ladbrokes and I'd put some money on March 2022. That's me. That's what I'm doing. I don't think it'll get canceled. I don't even think our government's that stupid. Our government's pretty stupid, but it's not that stupid. It's not going to throw away $9 billion. Well, maybe it will. I don't know. I can't predict this crap. Who knows? They might cancel it. What a waste if they did, though. Oh my God. I don't even want to think about that. It is on Twitch, Doors of Perception. I hope you're seeing it there. If not, it's just on Dustin's channel, not on Deep Astronomy. Gibson Picks is where I'm streaming this to, because we are trying to build a space community on Twitch together. And soon, Gibson Picks is going to be called Clear Skies Network. And every Friday at this time, I'm going to be on that channel. I also stream on Wednesday nights at this time, and I talk about exoplanets and habitable zones. And then on Tuesdays, I am also going to stream on that channel at this time, where I think I'm going to talk about the philosophy of astronomy, if I have the guts. So there we go. Architufus, the Pogo probe. That was cool, wasn't it? I mean, that Hayabusa probe going to the asteroid and bouncing back off, that is pretty amazing. I mean, it's presumably has its sample. The story I read didn't differentiate whether it did or not, but it did presumably pick up its sample, and then later this year, August, I think, they're going to be bringing it back to Earth so we can look at this thing. And that red and blue stuff is pretty interesting. I don't know what all that stuff is, but it'll be pretty cool to see what that's about. So, I mean, Hayubasa is, here's what they think. I didn't get a chance to show this graphic because there wasn't enough time. But here is what they think that thing is made of, and the evolution of it, of the Ryugu asteroid. And you can see that it's got these blue and red striations on it. It looks kind of like a spinning top. It's got that ridge there, which I mentioned. And so it's a bunch of loosely packed rubble, essentially, is what they think it is. So I think that's pretty interesting. And then, of course, OSIRIS-REx is out there on Bennu, or it's in orbit around Bennu right now, and it's going to get its sample later this year also. And then it's going to bring that crap back home too. I say crap, but I mean that in the best possible way. Astronomy Films wants to know what this is. It's the Space Fan News Astronomy Films, where I talk about the weekly space roundup. Everything that was worth knowing, I just talked about. So if you don't know it, then you need to get that way. You need to go back and watch this and get informed. Otherwise, you don't know jack about astronomy, because this is where the most important astronomy news is disseminated. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Pushing those buttons. Okay, so Andy Crowley, okay, he's talking about not being able to see me. Can I self-promote my YouTube channel? I'm expecting a no. Lol. Hey, Astronomy Films, I just promoted your channel. Lol. So presumably you make astronomy videos. I haven't seen your channel, and if I go there, I hope I'm going to be pleasantly amazed and that you are making original astronomy films and not taking other people's films and posting them as your own, which I have seen many people do, and to my detriment. So yes, Astronomy Films is a YouTube channel, everyone. I don't know anything more than what I just said about it. Okay. Let's see. JWST, Pufferfish X. I know, right? All of us are like, oh, it's just like facepalm. You know, we think of JWST and we're just like, this should have been up almost 10 years by now, right? It should have been up doing its business. The Hubble Space Telescope is on its last legs, guys, and we need this thing up there soon. Professor Carolyn Crawford is my favorite from Gresham University. Are you talking about astronomy courses? Okay, Simon, that's a good recommendation. So good. And let's see. Yeah, Better and Better is promoting the Discord server that we have. So I have that up 24/7 looking at it. So it's a good way to just chat about stuff. It's a fun community on our Discord. This is Deep Astronomy's Discord server and stuff like that. So, and it's a good way to reach me. Tell me when you want to see something, or I get a lot of the news from the people who post links on Discord too, because I start there first. So 300 points of failure. I know, Architufus, right? It's again JWST. You think about this thing and you look at this. You look at this video. I mean, wow. I mean, this is just their little squish up animation. But you know, if you've ever seen the deployment video, it's even scarier. It's just absolutely crazy. But yeah, then they gotta take that great big thing right there, fold it up in about 800 different ways, squish, 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 and stuff. And it goes to the fairing of an Ariane 5 rocket. The irony here is that the Ariane 5 rocket has been phased out by Ariane Space in favor of the Ariane 6. But they promised NASA they'll keep an Ariane 5 around for this decrepit launch that they're doing for this space telescope that has been being built for almost as long as Hubble's been up there. It is now too big to fail, Nick says. Yes, that's what I think. I think it's too big to fail. When you think JWST is over twice the cost of the Large Hadron Collider, is that true? $9 billion. So the LHC only cost $4.5 billion to build? Are you sure? Because I am not. I want to see this, by the way, is your chat. So I want to pull this up. I want to look at. I want to see the notification center. I want to see this. Okay, so this is all right. I need to double check that, dude. So here we go. What is Evernote doing popping up? Goodbye, please. I want to see LHC cost. Wow, you're right. Look at that. 4.75. Wow. Wow, that's amazing. All right. Yeah. Yeah, then. I guess you're right. Wow, that sucks. So, yeah, good call, man. I didn't know it was. Yeah, so twice as much as the Large Hadron Collider. You know what's weird about that, though? I remember back in the 90s when we were building, when they were building the superconducting super collider in Texas. That's what was going to be the LHC. It was the cost was up to $5 billion that had been spent, and then they canceled it. So if the Europeans were able to build this, it took about a decade to construct for a total cost of $4.75 billion. There are several different experiments going on in the LHC. Anyway, they did great, way better than we could have, because, like I said, by the time Congress pulled the plug on it, it was up to $5 billion. So we threw away more money than these guys spent to build it. That's impressive. Wow, that's super impressive. I did not know that, man. Good one, Simon. Appreciate that. I learned something every day. Hi, Ray's Astrophotography. It's good to see you. I thought it was Saturday. No AE MIDI. It's still Friday. Thank God. Let's see. Yeah, Ed Davies, really nice guy over there. Yes, they are. He got gifted a sub in about 10 minutes. That's right. It's a good community. Looks like Benu. Architufist. Yeah. So I always watch you on Twitch. It would be nice if you could build a community there. I go both ways, though. Yeah, see, me too. Although I'm trying to get away from YouTube, to be honest. I've had enough of this place. Not astronomy related. Do I miss Boulder? I lived there for 30 years. I lived there from, I guess I graduated high school at Centaurus High, and I started there as a sophomore, and then I lived there until I was in my mid 40s. So that's a long time. And I love it there. It was great. I raised 2 children there, got my degree there, and all of that. But I was born and raised in Florida, and I missed Florida a lot. It's my home. It's where I know how to be, and I enjoy it here a lot too. I miss the people in Florida, the politics. The people of Colorado. The politics are more in alignment with my own there than here in Central Florida. But there are times I miss it. There's not the night skies I certainly miss, because there's nothing like a nice crisp winter mountain sky right at night. It is some of the most beautiful observing you'll ever do outside of Boulder. But Boulder itself is a beautiful city, and I liked it, and sometimes I miss it. But it was, even at 30 years, I got a chance to experience everything there was to experience there. So, do you think they will find the planet in the next 10 years? Yes, I think this, like I said in the story, I think this, and most astronomers think that when the LSST comes online, which is now the Vera C. Rubin Observatory, this will be settled in within 5 years. We'll have figured out what's out there. If you don't know what that telescope will do, it will observe the entire night sky, all of it, 3 times a week. So we're going to get a lot of data, and there are going to be a lot of observations, and it is going to be a deal breaker. A game changer in so many different ways scientifically. So I think we'll know the answer within 5. I think it'll be quicker than that, actually. Hey, Uncle Bill, where you at, man? Are you on Twitch or YouTube? So let's see. Are you going to, when you do Google, it says the Large Hadron Collider took about a decade to construct. Yeah, I know. I just did it. Hopefully you saw that, Third Rock. Let's see. I need to catch up on the chat. I've been scrolling back. So are we talking Planet X or an exoplanet? No, we're talking about Planet 9, which is in our own solar system, and it is a planet that, if it is a planet, it's got to have about 10 Earth masses to explain the gravitational effects it has on the orbits of these Kuiper Belt objects that we can see. But as I just pointed out, there are other theories, because we haven't found it yet. We've been looking for about 3 years for this thing, and no one's found it yet. It could be something else with that kind of mass. And what this researcher that I had just talked about from my alma mater was doing was, she said, you know something? Hang on a minute. when the solar system formed, Jupiter and Saturn kicked out a bunch of debris while the solar system was forming, and that debris should have coalesced into a ring. And that ring, because it's diffused and spread out over a much greater area, it won't act like a planet, but it will. And so it needs to be 20 Earth masses for this to be the case. So that ring would have eventually, over time, evolved to a point where it is out in the, it's just this cloud. They didn't have any illustrations, so I couldn't show it. But there's this cloud, a ring cloud out there in the outer solar system that would be very difficult to see, but that when you plug in the numbers, it does explain all of the anomalies that we see in the outer solar system very, very well. The problem with her idea is that that ring needs to be 20 Earth masses, which is on the edge of what everybody thinks is the maximum allowable of leftover debris from the beginning of our solar system. They think that after our solar system formed, all the stuff that didn't become planets and planetesimals and asteroids and Kuiper belt objects, etc., there's about 20 solar masses of that crap laying around, or 20 Earth masses of that stuff laying around. And so that's at the upper limit. That would require all of it to have been in this ring. And that's the only problem with her idea. The other one, as I pointed out, is that this could be a softball-sized black hole. I don't think that's it. I think it's something more in line with how planetary systems formed, like either a planet or a ring. Now, what was interesting is that if this is a planet, it's sure hard to explain how the heck it got there. And a planet that big would either have continued to float out into space because if it started close to the sun and then gradually worked its way out, it would have just kept going instead of stopping somewhere out in orbit, far Earth orbit around the sun. It would have just gotten flung out, or it would have also gotten captured by a passing star. That's what astronomers are confused about. They don't understand how it can be there. And planets that big don't form that far out. So because of, I guess, all the stuff about debris disks and all that stuff that they know about protoplanetary disks and stuff like that. So yeah. Are they trans-Neptunian objects or Kuiper belt? I guess they're trans-Neptunian. I get them kind of confused. Sorry, I probably used the wrong terminology there. So AE MIDI wants to know if I think Pluto's a planet or a dwarf planet. It's a dwarf planet. Yeah, I mean astronomers can change the classifications of stuff when more observations make sense. And I did not get bent out of shape in 2006 or whenever it was. They decided to change Pluto into a minor planet. Didn't bother me any. What was funny was how everybody got bent out of shape about it. I thought that was hilarious. But who cares what it is? It's still there. I mean, you can call it, well, I better not get rude, but you can call it anything you want. Yes, thank you, Uncle Bill. Yes, I am on library.tv. Most of my videos are going to be uploaded there solely, not anywhere on YouTube or anything else other than like this video I just made. I'm going to cut it up and put the put it on library.tv so people can watch it. So let's see. Yeah, so like I said, I don't really know the difference between those two. I'm sure it's an important deal to astronomers, but not to me. For all of my life, they called Pluto irregular. They were wrong. Irregular. That brings by certain images of. Never mind. Let's see. Sun green, the United States Space Force flag, which will represent the newly created 6th branch of the U.S. military in the Oval Office on Friday afternoon. You know what? I think I have that handy somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Where did I put that? Maybe it's on my Google Drive. You're watching Tony go through his computer. Let's see. I ran across it just the other day, and I can't seem to find it now. Well, I'll just do this. We'll just do this on. We'll pull up space.com, why don't we? Oh, let me cancel this. All right, yeah. The Space Force flag. This is on space.com. Okay, we got an ad there. Somewhere it is. There it is. Starfleet Command. Yep, there it is. Official flag of the U.S. Space Force is unveiled at the White House event with President Donald Trump on May 15, 2020. That would be today. Look at that. Look at his face. He's very excited, isn't he? Look, he's very happy. He's a happy president. The flag itself is very dark blue, appearing almost black at first glance. It features 3 large stars and a Space Force's signature Delta logo in the center. The flag reads United States Space Force, and beneath that are the Roman numerals MMXIX, or 2019, the year that the Space Force was officially born. This is the first new military flag released in 72 years. It will stand in the Oval Office alongside the flags from the other military service branches. I wish I could click on it and make it huge, because that is amazing. What we have now is another military thing. Isn't that great? We have 6 of them now. We can blow things up and attack and fight everywhere now. And we can do it all the while pretending this is Star Trek. So, yay, us. I'm really happy about the Space Force, as you can tell. It's such a great thing that we have one now. I hope we blow up space really good. In fact, I hope that we go and blow up the James Webb Space Telescope if it ever makes it there. So, yes. Do I think James Webb Space is going to launch on schedule? Andreas, I answered that. I was and what telescope space project are you most excited for? Well, to be honest, I'm most excited about JWST. I just think it's going to be absolutely unbelievably great. Okay, but I don't think it's going to launch on schedule. I think March 2022 is when it's going up. That's what my money is on. And I don't know. If I had money, I'd bet it on. I'd tell you what the bet is, and I'd actually do it with someone. But chances are betting on NASA and launching anything is probably a bad idea. Yes, so we have them all now. We got all of them: Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Force, all of it. Yes, I'm just really glad we have it now. Damocles, I get it, man. Yeah, he says, hey, when I was in the Air Force for 8 years, and I have trouble saying Space Force without cracking a stupid smile. Yeah, I was in the Army. I get it that the military is necessary, and I served, but I just think this is maybe, well, it's just an ego thing, really. But I mean, I think what's going to happen is, I don't know that you can actually go join the Space Force right now. I think what happens is, if you're in the Air Force, they're going to look at what you're doing and kind of say, hey, you want to be in the Space Force? No, they won't ask you that, because the military doesn't ask you anything. They will tell you that you want to go to the Space Force. And you will say, I want to go to the Space Force. And you will be a member of the United States Space Force, doing what you did for the Air Force, only you're doing it for the Space Force. So, yeah. Space Fab. Yes, you know about that, right? Space Fab is this space telescope that is being built right now in California by the group Space Fab. I think it's spacefab.us is their website, so go check them out. Anyway, it's an 8-inch. Oh man, I forgot the optical design now. Anyway, it's going to be an 8-inch telescope that you can buy time on relatively affordably, right? And I've had them in Hangouts, so please search my channel for the Space Fab Hangouts. I think I've done 2, and talk about what they're doing. There's also, if you listen to the Space Junk podcast, There's an early episode where we talked with them as well. And they're getting ready to launch their space telescope, I think, in a year. And you could buy time on it. Now, the trick here, the weird thing about it is that they're going to let people point it at Earth and take images. And I think the military is going to have something to say about that. And they're not going to let people do it. So, yeah. Oh, is it 20 inches now? Are you sure about that? I thought it was 8. All right, because it's got to fit into a CubeSat. I forget the form factor. I thought it was 8, but man, I could be wrong. I will defer to you guys. So you need pointy ears to get in the Space Force. That's right. Cyber Force will be number 7. Yeah, we already have that. It's called the National Security Agency. They're just going to turn that into Cyber Force. Yeah. If you think China isn't trying to lay claim to space, you're wrong. I don't think they're not trying to do that. I think China's trying to do everything it can get away with. And so is America. So everybody is trying to do whatever they can to get away with. So yeah, I'm not trying to say they're not. So I'm not quite sure what gave you that impression. Maybe because I didn't even talk about China. But it's going to be an interesting few decades, isn't it? I mean, as all these governments become more space able, they get their own space programs going. We've got China, which is the most developed besides our own. Certainly the Europeans have been doing this for a very, very long time, and they have good space capability, as well as India is also doing it. So we've got these countries growing in their capability in space, and it'll be interesting how that really lame treaty that we came up with in the 60s is going to hold. And of course, the first thing we do when we go to the moon is we put these flags everywhere. Sure, we're not claiming ownership, but boy, what a slap in the face to everybody else, right? So, I mean, in the 60s, it was a very proud moment, very patriotic one. We did a very hard thing. I myself, cried when it happened, and I still think it's one of the greatest achievements ever accomplished. But, if you look at this from the eyes of someone else, another country, maybe that wasn't the best idea, to be so conspicuous about it. And then I remember when First Man came out, the movie, there was a big uproar about the fact that they didn't seem to show the flag being planted, like as if that was, the most important thing that happened there. So I don't know. I mean, this is getting conflated into it. Even back in the 60s, it was conflated into a big political thing. We got to the moon because we had to get, we had to just, own Russia, which we did. And of course, putting the flag out there was necessary part of that. So I get all of that. I understand it. But I hope and I would wish that going forward in the future, that countries would be a little bit more pragmatic about space, but they're not going to be. Everybody's going to be very much nationalistic about it because it's a point of national pride, understandably so. And it's going to be, I think, more and more problematic, so that our Space Force will need to grow and deal with it. So that's why, it's going to be an interesting time. So Simon said I was pretty rough on Space Force when it first came out, but the amount of time after flying, the Air Force is about the same as rockets. So Space Force, yeah. So yeah. Let's see. No, there should be safeties in place, MIDI, to keep the space telescope from pointing to the sun. There certainly is on Hubble. So let's see. So Skynet, Kurosaki is saying Skynet upgrade equals SpaceNet, and some call it Starlink. Yes, Starlink. Just like Russia claims the North Pole. That's right. It's from Lance Lefthook. At the moment, the only space is 6 foot. Let's see. A loophole in the treaty does not prevent a private or civilian from claiming extraterrestrial locations. That's correct. That's exactly right. A private company can go out and grab an asteroid and own it, and that says nothing about Governments may not be able to do that, but private industry can, which is relevant in this day of space billionaires, where we have space billionaires who are making all kinds of progress getting us out to space. And Elon Mars wants to go to Musk. And so when he gets there, it might be interesting. He might put up a little fence and say, "This is Musk land. This is Elon Town, and I own it. It's mine." And then it'll be his. And then if somebody else comes to Elon Town, say Jeff Bezos, and Bezosburg will be set up right next to Elon Town, and then Muskville will be built next to Elon Town, but then Jeff Opolis will be next to Bezosburg, and then they will make their own county called Amazon, and then the other guys will make their own county called Tesla, and then they will have their own governments, and then they will start shooting missiles at each other, and then the next thing you know, Mars is just like Earth. So good. Mars Musk. Out of this world aftershave lotion. Yes. Is it the most expensive space project, the International Space Station? 2 points for the world. Yes. In fact, for like a decade, it was called the Freedom Space Station, and it was just America doing it. And then America was like, this is back during when we also just cast off, the superconducting super collider. We're like, what, this stuff's expensive, and we don't want to spend money on it anymore. So Freedom Space Station became the International Space Station, and throughout this whole process, nobody knew what it was going to be for, right? What are we going to do with this space station? Well, I don't know, but we got to have one, don't we? We got to have a space station. I'm like, sure, let's build a space station. Let's go ahead and do it. But to this day, it has an ill-defined mission. Good work has come from it, and we've got a lot of knowledge out of it. Most notably, that about being in space for a long time, to what effect it has on our physiology. But it makes you wonder if maybe we couldn't have maybe done a little bit better job with that, right? And maybe put it a little bit further out in space so that we can get out of the magnetosphere, or maybe even do the gateway, which is what I'm a proponent of, and I hope that gets built. So anyway, they do the best. NASA and ESA and all these places, they got a hell of a job. And so it's easy for me to sit here and be snarky about it, but I couldn't do what they do, and very few people could. And so they get a lot of respect for what they're doing, although they have, because they are a political football, it's really hard to blame them for the stuff they don't get done. Because imagine playing a game and the rules keep changing, right? How do you exist in this game when nothing stays the same from president to president, right? Well, you design a strategy of things that you can do regardless of who's in charge, that all of your stuff that you're building can be used by most of the things you're likely to be asked to do. And that's why the gateway is important, because it's going to change. We're not getting to the moon in 2024. You guys can forget that. It ain't happening. Okay, I don't care how optimistic people are. Oh, yeah, we can get to the moon in 2025. If we get there by 2030, I'll be amazed, right? And so we're not getting there in 2024. Trump will be long gone. Even if he gets reelected, we won't be on the moon, right? So that means that whoever succeeds him is going to say, did I really want to go to the moon? No, I don't want to go to the moon. I want to now go back to Mars. So we're back to Mars again, right? Well, the gateway is still going to be there regardless, right? And so, okay, fine. We'll use the gateway to build stuff to go to Mars instead of the moon. No big whoop, okay? So I get that strategy, and I think it's smart, because it's going to get ripped out from under them again. The moon is not going to happen by NASA in 2024. You heard it here first. I don't think it's going to happen. My opinion, humbly submitted. Okay. Hey, Bill, it's good to see you. I don't think I'm still not a editor on this channel, but I need to get a hold of Dustin and ask him about that. Simon, trust me, Tony, I respect your snarkiness. I don't mean to be. I'm in a mood tonight, so that's why I'm being that way. NASA needs to get credit for its successes and its failures. Yes, we need to speak truth to power. NASA is great. Not as great as it used to be, but it is still great. It still does good things. God help them with that space launch system. It's been pushed back another year. So 2022, maybe even 2023. I skimmed over the Space News article about it. In fact, let me see if I can find it. Space News. Space News is a great website, guys. If you don't know what this site is, you need to find out about it. It's really a good one. So I'll go look. More of the Space Force flag. Yeah, it's not as annoying a site as the space.com site. Let me go back to news. And let's see, where'd it go? Space Force flag. And that was our Artemis for international cooperation. There was something in here on the SLS. Oh, here it is. First SLS launch now expected in late 2021. This came out yesterday. So NASA now expects the first launch of the Space Launch System to take place in late 2021, with a coronavirus epidemic at least partially contributing to the latest delays. Speaking at a May 14th meeting of the NASA Advisory Council's Human Exploration and Operations Committee, Tom Whitmire, NASA's Assistant Deputy, said the agency would announce as soon as next week that the launch readiness date for the Artemis 1 mission has slipped to late 2021. Now, this is part of that moon thing I'm talking about, guys. Artemis is our moon program, okay? And so this is going to push a lot of it back, okay? A slip to late 2021 is not surprising. Right here. Yes, that's very true. Speaking at a workshop in late February, Steve Jurczyk, NASA Associate Administrator, said the agency was projecting the first SLS launch would take place in the mid to late 21 timeframe. So they already knew this. After nearly 2 months, work is slowly starting to resume at Stennis. That's the NASA facility building the rocket, or building the SLS. In a May 14th statement, NASA said limited crews returned to the center this week to check out the SLS test stand and begin preparing for resuming tests. It will take time, and so we are behind. So before the pandemic, NASA planned to perform the Green Run static fire test in August. And if that went well, they were going to do a core stage. They were going to ship the core stage to Kennedy in October. But now all that's been delayed. So he noted that the Orion spacecraft, which returned to KSC after it completed environmental testing at NASA's Plum Brook Station in March, is wrapping up work. We're fundamentally complete, he said, with the spacecraft soon put into temporary storage until the core stage is ready. So the Orion capsule is ready to go. Everything else, not so much. So, yeah. So use your contacts at NASA to get them to swap the ISS and planet. I could, That's how much pull I have. I could be like, you know what, guys? ISS stupid. Everything else smart. Do everything else. Do what I want. I could do that. Yeah, they'd listen to me. But you know what, Tony White? Why didn't we think of that? In fact, why don't you run NASA? I'd be like, hell no. No way am I running that place. But yes, I would. I think the ISS is going to be becoming under private hands, and NASA is going to reduce its role over the course of the next couple years. I think in 2023, or maybe it's 2025, it was one of those odd years coming up, that the ISS is going to be privately, or more or less privately, controlled. And NASA will stop paying for it. All right, let's see. Let's see. A. Mitty wants to show a photo that he took of the moon. How can you? Yes. So the best way to do that is on Discord. So click on that Discord thing. And if you haven't join, and then Uncle Bill is one of the moderators on that server, and he'll get you set up right away, and you can post right there. So Uncle Bill, if you see him show up, please let him post images there. And then if you, I don't know, maybe, now this is something Dustin does, does a lot of imaging stuff. Maybe what I should do in one of my other streams is I will highlight other people's work, what they've done. Maybe you can even come on the stream and talk about how you guys took it. Yeah, go for it, man. Go ahead and post it. Um, did you do an interview with the Planetary Society guys? No, I haven't. They have their own thing. They got what's his name, Matt Kaplan. He does all their interviews. Of course, Bill Nye and all those guys are there, but they got their own. I mean, those guys are like juggernauts, right? They have their own basic network essentially. So no, I haven't done anything. I'm too small time for that. No, there's no image sharing channel. You could put it in Space Chat if you want to. That would be fine. A lot of people put images in there. And yeah, Uncle Bill's also pointing out on Twitch that I also do Tony's Twitch Tuesdays. T Cubed, that's being held at 3 in the afternoon, which is better for the European people because it's 8 o'clock their time, or 7 o'clock their time. So I get a lot of European, UK, and Central European time zone people watching that. So Lance Leftook says, as a Swede, I have to say NASA does so much more than firing rockets. Of course, yeah. And, I know I'm being snarky tonight about NASA. I'm giving them a little bit of a hard time, but, they do good work. I mean, let's think about it for a minute, right? Everybody's all bent out of shape about James Webb Space Telescope launching all the way out to the L2 point, which is 1.5 million kilometers away, way past the orbit of the moon. If anything breaks down on the James Webb Space Telescope, it's game over. We can't get out there to repair it, right? And so people freak out about it. But what they don't realize is that we have a lot of experience. NASA has a lot of experience building spacecraft that not only don't need repairs, but can go decades without it. Case in point, the SOHO telescope, the solar telescope that is currently at the L1 point, the Earth-Sun L1 point, has been up for 25 years. Not a single repair mission has been done on it. Kepler lasted, 9 years before it finally went out, and it only went out, okay, sure, the reaction wheel died, but it only went out because it ran out of fuel to really keep pointing back and forth to Earth. And so that went much longer than expected. Let's see. Chandra's been up 20 years, the X-ray telescope. Not a single repair has been done on any of these instruments, and yet they have been working for, in many cases, decades. Okay, so I'm not so worried about the non-repairability of the James Webb Space Telescope. If you think about it a little bit, I mean, I'm on the case that Hubble was repaired 5 times, but they were a little bit sloppy with Hubble, wouldn't they? I think they were sloppy because they knew they could repair it with the space shuttle. I mean, they launched the thing with spherical aberration, for God's sakes. So they weren't as careful as they could have been with Hubble. Luckily, they repaired it 5 times, and now it was like orders of magnitude better than the day it was launched. 30 years later, last month, 30 years and April 24th, it is still taking images. So NASA deserves the credit for that. They engineer the crap out of things, over-engineer the crap out of things. And so they do a lot more than just fire rockets. You're absolutely right. And they've got more experience than anyone in the solar system about landing and driving rovers on Mars, which people are finding out not so easy to do. Same thing with the moon. Been to the moon many, many times, done all kinds of cool things on there. India just found out not so easy to land there. Okay, so the Chandrayaan-2 probe, the Vikram lander, went haywire, and so it's not so easy to do this stuff. But NASA makes it look easy. And so, yes, absolutely, NASA deserves a lot of credit for what they do. And yeah, I'm going to give them crap for stuff because, everybody does stupid stuff. But at the same time, they do it. They have been one of the most amazing government agencies to ever have existed, and they have been set up to fail more times than any other observant agency as well, because they are so prominent, I guess, visible is the word I'm looking for, and everybody wants to use them as a political football and a point of pride for whatever reason they can. So yeah. Oh, and Israel. That's right. Israel also, thanks, Simon, also had a crash recently. So, yeah. Let's see. Is the L1 point the place that you can move from global to solar orbit? I don't know if you can do that, but it's that Lagrange point that's in between the sun and the Earth, such that as the Earth goes around the sun, it stays in that line. So it's always in between us and the sun. The L2 point's on the other side of the Earth, and it's like I said, outside the orbit of the moon, and it's that point that follows the Earth around the sun in that distance as well. And I don't know about going into solar orbit from there, but it is a place that is. These Lagrange points are very actually unstable places, I've learned, and one of the reasons they put spacecraft there is that they're gravitationally unstable, which means that space dust and other kinds of flying particles don't stay there. It's actually kind of swept out. It's kind of cleaned out a little bit. So, people are worried about things hitting it, and things will hit these spacecraft. But because of their gravitational instability, meaning that things fall out of those places when they're in them, unless they do something to stay in it. And space debris also does not stay in there as well. So it's a good place to be if you want to stay away from space debris. So they are the Earth, Sun, Lagrange points. So, okay, Tony, we've earned the right to talk a little smack. You probably have also been following it since it was called the Next Generation Space Telescope. I wonder if I can find something. Hold on just a sec. I wonder if I have this handy. Can you guys see that? That says NGST, and it's the year on it is 2002. You see that? Put it up. There it goes. Now you can see it. So, yes, the Next Generation Space Telescope. That's what the James Webb Space Telescope used to be called. I have space pins in here. All kinds of space pins. Here's one from Hubble's 25th anniversary. This is the lapel pin from the last shuttle mission where the one that blew up. Not Challenger, but the other one. Some HST pins, lots of HST pins. I should have a contest and give these away because I don't. They're just sitting in a box. It's all upside down. Living with a Star pin. What else do I have in here? Somewhere I have a JWST one. Ah, there it is. Alberto gave me this. James Webb Space Telescope. Boop, boop, we do. Lots of those. Dan, you gave me this. Dan Heiberg, are you there? Royal Canadian Mounted Police right there. Dan gave me that. Here's another JWST pin. I got this in Austin. Here's one. NASA Exploration Rover, Spirit and Opportunity. Right there. January 2008. No, 2004. I'm getting old and I can't see. And now, this, which is now called the Vera C. Rubin Observatory. I have others in there. I have lots of others in there. Been around a while. So yes, Next Generation Space Telescope. NGST. Okay. How can I do this? I need some help. I'll be glad to give these away to people who, I don't know how to do it. Eureka wants to know Eureka wants to know what the Tony Darnell Space Telescope would do. Oh boy. What would the TDST? Man, that would be cool, wouldn't it? TDST. The TDST would I have to think about that. I don't know. There's so many things. Let's see. Yeah, thanks, Uncle Bills. Yep. You would buy the LST, LSST, or the engine. Dude, I got these for free. I got them for just going to meetings and stuff. I can't sell them to anybody. I want to give them away. I like to figure out a way to do a contest. What can I do? Okay, I'll tell you what. I will keep this chat going throughout this. We gotta, I'm gonna be going for a little bit longer. I will pick somebody. But I don't know how to do it fairly. I'll have to think about it, guys. I'm gonna screw this up if I do it wrong. Okay, AE MIDI shared something on Space Chat. Let me look. All right, let me do this. All right. It was a composite of 2 photos I took. Hang on. Of the moon. One for the detail and one with the moon blown out. More info on my Instagram post, AE MIDI Astro. Cool. That's really neat. So one's blown out and the other one isn't. That's got a nice effect, man. I like that. You can see the limb darkening. You use the limb darkening effect on the underexposed one to sort of complement the overexposed one. Really cool, man. That's very nice. Did you register them by hand, or did you use some software of some kind? Yeah, so definitely check him out. AE MIDI Astro on Instagram. So, yeah. So there's the Discord. And it says that Uncle B just made you a space fan, which means you can post things like that, links and et al. On there. So thank you, Uncle B, for handling that. I appreciate it. All right. Okay, that's a cool picture, man. Good one. Nice work. Let's see. Nightbot has a giveaway function where it picks a person from YouTube chat. Okay, I'll use that next week. Next Friday, show up. I'm gonna do what he says. I'm gonna go on not Nightbot, but I use Stream Elements, and I'll bet Stream Elements will do it too. And so I'm gonna go look on Stream Elements and see what they've got, and do that. What sci-fi books have I enjoyed? Lately I've been reading a lot of Asimov again. I'm gonna tell you a story. It's gonna make you really mad because it makes me mad. I used to have a science fiction collection that spanned my time ever since I was in high school. And I carried these paperback books everywhere I went, to every place I've ever lived. And I schlepped and I schlepped and I schlepped all these books. And even these books here behind me, I've schlepped them everywhere. I've had them for decades, right? Well, so I'm in Maryland. I'm getting ready to move to Florida. I've just left the Space Telescope Science Institute, and I'm packing up all my stuff from my apartment. You have to understand this is a time in my life where my kids have grown up. They've left the house. I'm moving back to Florida basically to be by myself. I had not met Charlotte yet, and I am going through all my stuff, and I'm saying, okay, I can't keep this stuff around anymore. So I just started giving stuff away. I gave away all of my paperback books. I donated them to a library. And then, of course, what happens when you get older and you start having more time is you can read more. And I thought, I want to go back and read some of the books that I read in high school, thinking, wow, what an idiot. I got rid of all those books. So let me start again. And I was going to buy some of these books. Well, one of the books I wanted to read was Destination Void by Frank Herbert. Right here. Good book. One of my favorites. It's about, an AI growing and becoming sentient. A little bit simplistic and by today's standards, but, this was written in 1966, right? This is the fourth printing that came out in 1976. Look what I used for a bookmark. This was a religious thing that someone gave me when I was buying the book. So I went to go buy that book. Guess how much it cost me? It cost the cover price on this book. What I paid for it was $2.25. This is what I paid for it in the 70s. I had to pay almost $20 for that book. All of my books that I had, of which they were like that, pretty good, better shape actually, because I kept pretty good care of my books. $25. Isaac Asimov, same thing, right? And so it's been like absolutely insane how much these books cost. And I'm just like, oh no. So all of this is a very long answer. I wanted to tell that story as a cautionary tale to people like me who collect books, who love books, who enjoy everything about a book, including the smell, the holding it up in the hand and reading of it like this. It's way better than a Kindle. Don't get rid of your stuff, man, because books have gotten really expensive. So what I've been doing now, I do have a Kindle. I love my Kindle. And in the same way that when records went out and CDs came in, I had to get all my music on CDs. And then when they went from CDs to MP3s, you do these stupid technology transfers of all your stuff that you've accumulated throughout your life. I've done that with Kindle, and I'm starting buying these books. So Isaac Asimov, The Gods Themselves, has been a really good book that I've been reading. I highly recommend that. I read the Foundation trilogy again right around the time Elon Musk launched that Tesla up there. So I've been going through a lot of the old sci-fi lately, the old stuff, Asimov, and I think I'm going to start Dune again. But I've read Dune like 3 times already, so but I kind of like to go back and visit that story again. I read the Expanse books for some more contemporary sci-fi, and I read God, I forgot what this series. I read it a while back. Oh, if you've ever seen. Oh man, what's the name of the book where they made it into a movie about video games, about from the 80s? What's the name of that movie? Oh God, I hate being old. Not Ready, Set, Go. What's it? Anyway, that story I thought was excellent, way better than the movie. The book was outstanding, mostly because it spoke to me from the 80s. I grew up in the 80s. I used to play games like Zork and Wizardry and all the NES games and all that stuff. So it was really nice to take that. Yes, thank you. Ready Player. Oh shoot. Ender's Game was also very good. I read Ender's Game. That was Orson Scott Card, I believe. Very good book. So highly recommend that too. Tron. I got Disney Plus right recently, and of course Tron's on there. I watched both of them, the one from the 80s and the one from the remix, Tron Legacy. I actually like Tron better, the one from the 80s, and I also watched The Black Hole, which is one of the worst movies Disney ever made. What a piece of crap that was. So I've been watching some of those old movies from Disney as well. So Ready Player One, that's what it is. Yes. So that was a really good book. The book was better than the movie. And I read Contact, of course, and Carl Sagan and all those guys. So yeah, Kurosaki says he reads his carefully too. He avoids spine damage. I know, right? The thing about a book is that what I find when I'm reading a Kindle book is I don't have the same relationship with the book as I do when I'm holding the book, right? With Kindle, I have a better relationship with the words than I do with the physical book. I find when I'm reading it from a Kindle, I have more of a connection with the words and the ideas. But when I'm reading a book, I have a better connection with the book itself. You hold a book like this and you see the cover all the time. You look at the cover, you wonder who drew it. And then, you know where you are in the book, right? With your little bookmark. I always use bookmarks. I don't fold the page down. And so it's like, where you are in the book, and you can kind of, if you remember, you go, oh, what was that part that you wanted, remembered a part, or that maybe the book is referencing a part that happened earlier. Finding it again in a Kindle is really hard. But, in a book, you just kind of thumb through and you go, here it is. And then you just start reading it again, right? So my relationship with books have changed with Kindles. It's not worse, it's just different. And so I find that I do miss the tactile and the visual relationship I have with a book when I'm reading it. With a Kindle, what I love about a Kindle is I can carry all of that stuff that's behind me. I can carry it in a little thing that's, like my phone. So I really like that about it, and that's, that is definitely an advance. Susan's saying, Tony, try a random number generator. So list the contestants. Example 19. Example 19. Use a random generator of 19 to get a number or number X or X on the list is your easy winner. Okay, I'll keep that in mind, Susan. Thank you. Yes, Architufus Kindle Paperwhite is the best. I don't have any other one, so I don't. Although I did have a Kindle Fire because Charlotte bought one and then she stopped using it, so I started reading her Kindle Fire for a while. It's really heavy, and the battery doesn't last as long. But the Paperwhite, very light. I charge it maybe once a month. It's great on sunny environments, like when I'm out on the boat or I'm on the beach. I can just read it. It's no problem at all. The Kindle Fire is a problem. So, yes, definitely get the Paperwhite. What am I doing? Giving Jeff Bezos more money? Don't buy a Paperwhite. Don't buy a Kindle. Don't go doing that. Don't buy the Kindle edition. Go to your bookstore and buy a book. There. What am I doing? Giving Jeff Bezos more money. They're thinking he's going to be a trillionaire. Have you heard that? He's going to be the first trillionaire. So, how does a mod do her job? I made Susan a mod, and now she feels this sense of responsibility. Susan, you don't got to do anything if you don't want to. Just let it go. I just made you a mod because I was making people mods at the time. So don't worry about it. So yeah. What book have you read more times than any other? Wow, that's a really, really good question. I'm gonna have to say Lord of the Rings. I've read that I think 4 times. I read it once in high school. I read it again when I was in the military, in the Army. I read it a 3rd time when my boys were in their, I guess they were about 7 or 8. We used to read books as a family, and I used to, read all the Harry Potter books that way, and I would read them out to everybody. And so I read them all again to my boys. And boy, you want to talk about some work. Reading Tolkien out loud to a couple of boys, that's some work, because Tolkien is of course he's verbose, but he's also like intricate in his writing, and it's not easy to read. Of course, I didn't do the characters. I don't do the character voices. I can't remember all the different voices if I come up with them. But Harry Potter was really easy to read that way. And then I read it again after, I think it was during a period when I was in a bad place and I just wanted to escape, and so I read it. This was after the movies came out and everything else, but I read it again. So it would have to be Lord of the Rings. I've read that 4 times. The Dune trilogy I read, or the Dune, trilogy, because it got ridiculous. I didn't read all the Dune books. They got really stupid after a while. I read that I think 2 times. And I also like Thomas Covenant, the Unbeliever series. That is from Stephen R. Donaldson. I'm rereading that right now. I'm on the Wounded Land. I'm sorry, I'm on the whatever's after the One Tree. White Gold Wielder. I'm reading that right now, just so that I can get to the last Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, which I haven't read yet at all. But I wanted to read the other books to get myself primed for that final series of books. And then another one is the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. You got to read that. That's going to be a show soon on Amazon. So you really want to check out. That's a great series, fantasy series as well. It's not science fiction. So let's see. My favorite book I've read is A Clockwork Orange, mainly because of the different language. Yes, man, that's a classic. The movie is awesome too. Let's see. let's see. Andy, I know, I heard that. Andy Serkis, this is from Gregorius, managed to read the whole of The Hobbit in 12 hours for a charity. I read that. I saw that news item. Yeah, so Susan's, I had a book e-reader with ink and loved how easy it is on the eyes. Yes, it is easy on the eyes. And in fact, that's one of the things I read before I go to bed every night. And so regardless how tired I am, I always read. And the light from that book doesn't, not only is it dim and it doesn't like shut it up, but it's also not that blue tinge on it as well that they say keeps you awake. So it's another good thing to like about it. For someone who doesn't read a lot of sci-fi but loves to read Tolkien, what kind of sci-fi books would you recommend? But let's see. Doesn't read a lot of sci. I would go with the Expanse books. The Expanse books were very good because they are based, I think, on a lot of actual science. Right? I really liked those books, and the show was unbelievably awesome. So I would try those. That would be my recommendation. But if you like Tolkien and you like big epic things, Piers Anthony has a series of books out called Space. I don't know if it's Chronicles of a Space Tyrant or something, but that's a really epic book. Ender's Game, another epic book, right? It's like bigger than life. So you'd probably really like Ender's Game and the other books that follow, written by Orson Scott Card. So very good. My favorite book is The Stars, My Destination. That is a good book. Trying to read Brian Greene's Until the End of Time. Pretty good so far. Good. All right. Yeah, a lot of readers here, aren't there? I mean, I try, but Lord of the Ring books I can't read. Greater than 5,000 plus books, and those are my only fail. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's a hefty read. I mean, you got to really set aside some time. Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Heinlein. Stranger in a Strange Land is also really good that he's written. And I don't know, man. George Orwell, 1984. We probably all know it by now, but that's another really good. That book made me feel ways I hadn't felt. I read it in 1984 because it was a big deal then, and because the year was there, and have we made it, and how was the actual 1984 pan out. So I read it then, and it really disturbed me. I had a real hard time with that after I read it. But to be honest, I was also in a place in my life where I was not good. I joined the Army in 1985, and I did it because I was at the end of my rope. Right? I was despondent because I couldn't do math, and I thought I could never do astronomy. I was 25 years old, and I didn't know what to do with my life, right? So I very quickly joined the Army just to do something to keep myself alive because things were getting bad for me. And so, but before that, I read 1984, and that was, I was not in a great place mentally, but maybe that's why it affected me so strongly. But that book, to this day, I read it 3 times, and that book to this day still, I have to set aside some time to deal with my emotions while I read that book. It's just because of the idiosyncratic nature of my life at the time, I guess. Kurosaki says you met Ray Bradbury. That's right. The sci-fi master geek, Forrest J. Ackerman. Oh wow! So you've read those as well. I read Rendezvous with Rama. I think I've read that twice. But that's another one that's on my list because I read it when I was really young. It's fun to read a book again after you read it when you were a teenager, because you can get a sense of how much you've changed in your own cognitive thought processes as you read a book. I can still remember what I thought when I read Rendezvous with Rama. And even reading the Thomas Covenant books, which I did when I was also in high school. I'm reading it now and I'm thinking, damn, Stephen Donaldson he must have wrote those things with the thesaurus, right? Right, because he uses some words that, I have to. Another great thing about the Kindle is if you don't know a word, you can push it, and up comes the definition of the word. Well, I'm doing that constantly with the Thomas Covenant's books, because he's like, using these words to describe things like powerful, puissance, right? And all of these, like, what the fuck is puissance? So you push that, and it's like, oh, it means powerful. And so you're like, why did he do that? Why couldn't he just, but he was like with a thesaurus. And when I was in high school reading that book, I'm like, I must not have got but 20% of this stuff, and I still thought it was a good book. So yeah. And so Arthur Clarke, with Rendezvous with Rama, I read when I was a kid and a little bit later on. So I'd like to read that again. It's on my list to do again as an adult, because I'd like to get a take on what it's like now for me to think about that, because that's another good book series. And his 2001 and 2010 books were pretty good as well. I really enjoyed those, and the movies were good. Let's see. Yes, thank you for following, Kurosaki. That was an oversight on your part. So it felt more like East Germany at the time, and that was a nightmare. Are you talking about 1984? Yeah, I can imagine. It did. I mean, the movie felt that way too, and certainly the book gave you that feeling as well. I mean, Orwell's one of my favorite authors, but that book, man, I got to really give myself some latitude when I read that thing. So, all right. So, are there any? We've been really kind of talking about not space stuff, guys. I hope. I haven't been keeping track of the numbers, but I hope like people are still watching. I know the chat's still going. So yeah, we got people watching, about 36 on YouTube and 21 on Twitch. So, okay, well that's good. I haven't lost everybody. So anyway, what do you guys think of it? I'm going to have to go pretty soon, because I don't know if Dustin is streaming on Twitch tonight or not. I haven't talked to him in a couple days, but I need to get off of Gibson Picks in case he needs to stream. But anyway, I hope you're liking this. Hope you're liking this format. I'm gonna get better at it. I'm gonna probably do this like this going forward, only because it's not that much work. I mean, it's like making a Space Fan News episode, except that I'm adding all the graphics live instead of doing it in Resolve. So it's not that much extra work. In fact, it's not. It's actually a little bit easier. I made the video as I streamed it. So now I can cut it and use it as a standalone SFN episode. And besides, people who come onto the stream and watch the VOD, they're probably going to see, oh my God, it's like an hour and a half long. But the first 10 minutes of it, they just watch that. They've got the complete episode, right? So they don't have to worry about watching all this chat and stuff like that. So I'm going to try it again next Friday. And so he might stream. Okay, so I better get off soon. Whoa. Hey, wow, thanks, man. Holy crap. Big Norge. Hey from Ann. Ann, hey, Ann. Thank you very much. That is a lot. Wow. Anyway, thank you very much, Big Norge. Yes, thanks very much. I'm glad Ann likes it. So you guys are watching it. Oh my God. So here I am. You guys are watching me like search the web and talk about books I read when I was in high school, and go through my pin collection, my lapel pin collection, so that I have mission stickers too. I should bring those down, and mission patches. I'll bring those down and go through them as well. Lots of stuff to give away, actually. I should do more of that. I should do more giveaways, because I just grab all this stuff. I go to like meetings and stuff, and they give it to you for free. And so I just been holding on to it. So yeah, I'll start giving these away. And thanks, Susan. I'm going to look at ways to give this. Yeah, there's more stuff. I guess I don't think about it. I don't think about it as meaning anything to anybody. This is just stuff I've collected. But I think about it, you guys don't have access to this stuff. So, I should give it away for sure. I mean, you know what I did? I bought this box collection of it's Blu-ray, and it's like Disney's Tomorrowland, and it's got all of these Blu-ray discs, Disney in Space and Beyond. And the reason I bought it was because it had all of those Werner von Braun, like Disney, you know, going into space things that he did, and I really like that stuff that they made back in the 60s. But I don't have a I don't have a Blu-ray player, so it's like I don't know what I'm going to do. And they don't make, you can't like download this on Disney Plus because I looked, and so I have this that I could give away too. So I got stuff that I should do more. I should do that and maybe get, you know, like subscriptions or followers or something like that. So yeah, wow. So thank you again, Greg and Ann. It's good to see you again, and we should talk this weekend if you have time. So Sahid, thanks, man. A lot of people tell me that. 10 years later, those pens are worth $10,000. Don't tell me that, or I won't give them away. All right. So yeah, that was back in 2007, 2006. I made that Hubble video, so it's been a while. But thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Well, I am going to head out. Greg and Ann, thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you very much. It means a lot to me, and we'll keep things going. I will be back next Friday night with another weekly space roundup, both on YouTube and Twitch. Also on Twitch, I am live streaming on Tuesdays at 8, Wednesdays at 8. Wednesdays at 8, and also Tuesdays. On Tuesdays, I'm streaming twice at 3 in the afternoon for T Cubed, 8 in the evening for Philosophy of Astronomy. Wednesday, 8 o'clock, and tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Most times are all Eastern. So that's my stream schedule. I'm going to fill it out on Gibson Picks as soon as I get more access to Gibson. I can log in to Gibson Picks, but I have to keep getting that code from him on his phone, and so I have to let him know I'm about to log in, and it's kind of a pain. So I need to put the schedule up on the schedule on Gibson Picks, and I'm going to do it also on Deep Astronomy when I'm going to stream there. So anyway, okay, guys. So let's see. I got a heap of 8-track tapes. I actually have some of those too. Okay, guys, I'm going to close the stream. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Tony Darnell from deepastronomy.space. This is the Friday Space Roundup on both Deep Astronomy and Twitch. You guys are awesome. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, keep looking up.